And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Waivers Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day, 72, and just perfect out here in Southern California. We're a little bit, everybody going crazy now because a Lincoln Continental parked his way into Southern California. SC gets their man. They get Lincoln Riley to be their head coach. So we'll see what happens there. But we're here to talk a whole bunch of baseball here for you. Myself and James Amato, who is podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Atlantic Ocean. Mac Jones country out there in New England. How you doing today?
Mac Jones, Judon country.
Mac Jones.
It's good to be a Patriot fan. Like I said, this is one of the funnest teams I've rooted for in a long time. So I'm enjoying the ride.
They're so gross and disgusting. I can't do it. But baseball is here.
You're lucky I didn't wear my Bengals jerseys.
You could have worn Bengals. Bengals had nothing to do with me. Had nothing to do with me.
2 weeks ago.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you got plenty. I'm sure you got plenty of jerseys. We probably got I saw a lot of Boomer Esiason. Can I just say that if you do get a chance to travel, I'm not sure if you're a Vegas type person, but if you do, Vegas is whatever. It's always something for everybody in Vegas. I went to the Bengals Raiders. If you do get a chance to go on a tour of that stadium, I would, or if the Patriots play the Raiders next year, I would definitely go. It's really a beautiful stadium. It really is. It
looks nice. It looks really good.
Really nice as far as that goes. Baseball, despite the fact that we're on the precipice of a lockout here in baseball, these teams have been spending money. We're gonna have Ryan Finkelstein of the Locked On Mets podcast coming on shortly. But before we get on, let's just call it. These guys are spending money, and I think the one thing that Baez getting paid money from the Tigers. Stroman just went to the Cubs. People trying to get these deals in, James, right before the lockout or strike starts.
Yeah, Major League Baseball's finally had its NBA, NHL free agent frenzy, which they haven't had really, honestly, in a long time, since there used to be the Major League Baseball free agent draft.
Yeah,
where teams would draft players who were free agents, which was always quite interesting. You'd be drafted by 12 teams at the time. But yeah, we've talked about this a lot, that Major League Baseball doesn't have that signing period like they do in other sports, and they've had it the last 4 days. So good for them.
Yeah. Our guest, Ryan Finkelstein. I hope I got that last name right. Did I get it right, Ryan?
That's close enough. I've been both my whole life. It's Finkelstein, but I respond
Finkelstein. So Ryan Finkelstein here. He is part of the Locked On Podcast Network and part of the one of the hosts of the Locked On Mets podcast. So the Mets are spending dough, doing a whole lot of that this offseason. You have a owner who is a lifelong fan, so obviously that's going to be a big thing. But I want to go back and take a trip down memory lane to 2020. I think that one of the biggest things that myself and James Amato had not an issue with, but kind of a concern with, was what happened with Francisco Lindor. We kind of felt like that was like a perfect fit for the Mets. Just didn't seem to get it going offensively. Well, what were your thoughts about his season last year, 2020?
Well, I think that Lindor, he got off to a terrible start. So I think if you lead off there, if you remove like his first, I'd say 6 weeks of the season and go on from there, his numbers got closer to what he looked like throughout his career. He also finished off with a great September, but it just was not a good year for him. I don't know if it was the change going from a small market to New York City or what exactly it was, but we started to see the Lindor that you were expecting down the stretch. The defense was a huge upgrade, though, and I think you can't take that for granted. I've seen a lot of terrible shortstops for the New York Mets in my time, so seeing Francisco Lindor, what he did to change the defense, really was a big reason why the Mets were in first place in the first half, even when he wasn't hitting, and even when he didn't have the power, he still got on base a lot. He was still giving good at bats. So I'm not overly concerned going into next season. I think he'll have a much better year, but it's definitely something you got to be paying attention to because he's tied to the franchise for another decade.
Yeah. The fast start kind of definitely faded towards the end, the collapse there, if you will, for the Mets. What was the biggest reason why that took place? It looked like they were going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, the Phillies started playing a little bit better. And also the Braves, who ended up being the world champions, really started taking off. What are your thoughts about what happened there?
Well, really, I mean, they were rolling heading into the All-Star break, and then coming out of the break, Jacob deGrom never pitches again for the Mets, which is the biggest reason that they fell off. And then also Lindor went out right after the break. He got hurt in the first game back, and that really set the Mets back as well. So those two injuries were the biggest reasons to point to, and just across the board, they just did not get good performances. Taijuan Walker was an All-Star in the first half, and then I think he pitched to an ERA over 6 in the second half. Carlos Carrasco blew out his hamstring in spring training. He comes back down the stretch, and just, he tried to get ready at the major league level, wasn't stretched out. He really struggled. So it was a collection of errors across the board. But I think the biggest thing you could point to was DeGrom going out.
This manager situation here, what are your thoughts about this? Rojas won't be back, correct? And then you got some experienced guys out there like Showalter. I'm a San Francisco Giant fan, so Bruce Bochy's out there, John Farrell's out there. Is there any? You think they go with experienced manager, or do you think they go with the guy who they can just basically text or put the lineup on the iPad for?
Yeah, I think that's the way the game's going, right? It's going that way of the the analytics department who can work well with that. But they just had that guy in Rojas, who they decided to let go. So if they're going to go with the similar manager to Rojas, I would look at Joe Espada, the bench coach for the Astros, as a potential fit. Those big names are also attractive. Steve Cohen is a baseball fan, so I could see him looking at Buck Showalter or Bochy if either of them is interested in the job, and liking that as a big splash for him to bring into New York.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Mets haven't really had this type of spending spree since the early '90s. When you think about it, going back to the Vince Coleman signing and Bonilla, and they're poised to take over the city. I don't know how old you are, but I remember I grew up a Yankee fan, and '84 once Gooden came on board and Strawberry, like, even though the Yankees were the bigger name team for the previous years, like the Mets took over New York. Probably from 85 to 91, like the Mets own New York. They were the franchise, and I think it's good for baseball when the National League is strong there. What are your concerns about having this quote unquote open checkbook?
I'm actually not that concerned right now, because I think Billy Epler, the new GM, is doing a really nice job. When he got introduced, one of the things he talked about, he was the GM of the Angels, and at first, I don't think anyone was really blown away by the hire. The Mets went through this drawn out process to get to Epler, but Epler, what he talked about is his time with the Angels being very similar to this time with the Mets, where you have a team that already had a bloated payroll, Albert Pujols in Los Angeles, Robinson Cano here, farm system. And he mentioned wanting to build the team through free agency, but short-term deals. So if you look at all the spending so far, Max Scherzer gets a ridiculous contract, but it's a 3-year deal. Starling Marte, the longest contract they've given out, but it's a 4-year deal, and a super athletic player that I think will age well. And then the other two signings so far, Mark Canha and Eduardo Escobar, 2-year deals. So the Mets, in a weird way, they're rebuilding when it comes to their farm system. They're trying not to make other trades and hurt that farm, while having a payroll that's already sitting close to $270 million they're going to try to win with for the next couple of years. So I think we'll see how this ultimately plays out. But the idea would be in 3 or 4 years, they're going to spend a little bit smarter and have a little bit more of a team that can be a sustainable winner through their farm system if everything breaks right.
Yeah, that's a good plan. I mean, we haven't seen that with the Angels yet, obviously, but the Angels, with the talent they have there and bringing on Syndergaard, looking good for them. Were you surprised Syndergaard left, or did you kind of have the feeling he was done with the Mets in general?
So I thought when the Mets gave him the qualifying offer, he was going to come back, but that was just because I also didn't think that anyone would give him more than the qualifying offer. So once I saw the dollar amount, I wasn't surprised at all that he left, because he got, I think it was extra, I want to say $2.4 million. I mean, it's 2.6, but regardless, that was definitely something. And I think for the Mets, it ended up working out in that they're going to get a draft pick back for him. And you just replaced him with Max Scherzer. I mean, obviously, Marcus Stroman looks like he's heading out the door as well. But I think that Scherzer is such a huge upgrade over anything you would have had. That I think the Mets rotation at this point is in really good hands. And dating back to my answer to the last question, as they're trying to build this out the right way, now they're getting comp picks for Syndergaard and Conforto. They're going to have, I believe, 6 picks in like the top 100 of this draft. So that's really going to help build out that farm system.
And what's the one area, what's the one position of concern that you feel the Mets need to address next, or hope they make a big upgrade in?
I would say that the bullpen is still a pretty big concern. They haven't addressed that. Other than that, they probably have to add one more starter to their rotation. I think their position players, there's a chance that we could still see the Mets make a splash. But I think if you look at their lineup right now with adding 3 position players through free agency, I think their starting lineup is pretty set at the moment. So we'll see how the offseason plays out. Obviously, the lockout's about to happen. And that's going to freeze things as far as transactions go. So we'll see what happens. Right now, the Mets are focused on the front office and building out their coaching staff. But down the road, I still think they'll make a couple more moves before we get to spring training.
Ryan, looking at the pending lockout that's coming, like I say, we don't know, and I know you. I mean, I know we cover the sport, but we're not privy to those conversations. Do you think this is something that, from what we're hearing and the little tidbits of what's wrong and what's going wrong with the negotiations, do you feel like this is going to be something that goes drift into the season, or you think it's just going to be kind of just going over the winter and then at some point the owners will just cave?
I think that in a weird way, what just happened with the COVID shortened season and everything else might make this process play out a little bit quicker, because I don't think the owners want to have another shortened season. I don't think that they want to lose more games, more ticket revenue, all that stuff. But I do think this is going to drag out. I think when you're seeing this rash of action in free agency, to me, that tells me the players are certainly, expecting to hold firm in these negotiations. And I think the reason why a lot of them are grabbing money is because it wasn't necessarily about what deal they can get now compared to after the new CBA. I think it's more about being comfortable in your situation, because as we saw when the NBA had their last lockout, that was a shortened season. If I remember correctly, you had about a week between when the lockout ended, then there was like a abbreviated free agency, and then players just jumped into training camp. I think we could see something similar here. So for a lot of these guys, I think they wanted to have a team where they could establish roots, find their house, get their kids in school, all that stuff, so that when the season eventually kicks off, they can hit the ground running. I think for these other free agents, that's going to be a really tough process of trying to find a deal after the CBA or the new CBA comes in place, and then having to potentially jump right into spring training.
Yeah, the stars are going to be, the stars are online for you to get a deal done as soon as possible, rather than wait, because who knows what that's going to be afterwards. The Braves won it. The Braves are, even if they lose Freddie Freeman, they're going to be a ridiculously talented team. What are your thoughts about the division as a whole? Do you feel like the Mets can just flip that record upside down and contend for a division championship if they make the right moves still? Because they made some good ones right now.
Yeah, I think they're starting off with some great moves. I'm still, the Max Scherzer addition is so crazy to me. I just never expected that one to actually come in. So the prospect of Scherzer and DeGrom just has you thinking the Mets should be favorites. But the Braves just won it, and I would assume Freddie's going to come back. It's almost, I was on some show earlier today where I was just saying, I almost, even though I'm a Mets, I almost don't want to see Freeman in another jersey, because there's some players that you just associate with the team. So I think it'd almost be bad for the sport if Freddie Freeman was a Yankee next year instead of a Brave, especially after just winning a World Series. So I don't know how those talks are going to break down. But yeah, the Braves are still going to be the team to beat. They're the reigning champions. The Phillies are an interesting team. They have Bryce Harper, the reigning MVP. Zach Wheeler was either the runner-up or the third place finisher in the Cy Young. There's some good talent there. And then the Marlins, I'm not going to say they're going to really contend in this division, but they're not going to be a 100-loss team, or this year they lost 95 games. They've made some good little moves. They added Joey Wendell. They added Avisel Garcia. It's a couple solid major league veterans that are going to help that team, and their pitching staff is great. So if you look at this division, the only team that looks completely out of it right now is the Washington Nationals, that are clearly in the middle of a rebuild, and they're going to have Juan Soto just surrounded by a lot of bad players as he's going to contend for an MVP on a terrible team.
Yeah, no question about it. No question about it there. So listen, thank you for joining us here, Ryan Finkelstein. of the Locked On Mets podcast out there in the Locked On podcast network. I definitely appreciate you coming on and come for couple minutes, and hopefully we I don't think it's going to be a quick one. I don't think it's going to be a quick one, but we'll see what happens with baseball here as far as the pending lockout and then also the rest of free agency. Thank you for joining us here on the Put On Waivers podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Cool. Ryan Finkelstein of the Locked On Mets podcast there. So so some good stuff there. And like I said, this is what everybody. I remember going to Petco Park and watching a Padres game. And it is, like I said, it is one of the best ballparks out there. It should be on the bucket list. I mean, it's really that good. Especially if you're a beer connoisseur, like you like IPAs, like that's definitely the place to go. But it's going to be really hard, for baseball here to like if it dips into the season next year, because people were so locked in their houses during the pandemic. They had an opportunity to go outside, finally go outside and go to ballparks. And slowly but surely, towards the end of the season, we were filling ballparks again across Major League Baseball, and they could be shut down again. So it's every time baseball kind of takes that step forward, James, it takes a little bit step back, and the average person is never going to understand what they're actually fighting for, right?
No, the average person is not, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to jump on that the COVID bandwagon. That's going to impact these negotiations. You look back to, and I'm old enough to remember the 1981 strike, and a lot of people felt that wouldn't be prolonged because we're coming off the end of the 70s in which we were in an economic crisis. The hostages were just freed from Iran. Everything was looking up, and they thought it was going to be a quick strike, and it wasn't. I mean, this baseball union is the toughest union out there.
The players,
hands down.
Yeah, not even close.
That players union is they'll take the lockout, and that's why they're getting these guys jumping in all these contracts now. So don't think for 1 second that COVID's going to impact these negotiations at all, because I just don't see it.
I was thinking when I said that, I was thinking more on the owner's side. The owners will feel that pressure more than the players.
It's not. I mean, it's not just you. I've heard this, before from a lot of people. It's like, because of COVID, they'll never let this happen. But
the players have that money in the bank. They don't care.
Yes.
At that point. So I definitely feel you on that one. Yeah.
Don't think either side is gonna really worry about COVID other than getting fans into the park. And it's just, I would take that off the table, like if anyone brings that up.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody felt pressure to get people the pressure to keep money coming in would be from the owner's side. The players have negotiated those guaranteed contracts. It's not like National Football League. They get paid regardless.
They get paid. If 10,000 people show up to Yankee Stadium for a 10-game homestand, players don't lose money.
They don't lose a goddamn thing. So yeah, as far as that goes, we definitely know that as far as that goes. Any of this was there? I'm kind of waiting for to kind of talk to the Rangers about that first before Locked On Rangers before we kind of, because I think the Corey Seager deal probably surprised me the most out of all the deals. I mean, that was a lot of money for a long period of time. Very good player. It does have a little bit of a history of missing some games. So is there a deal out there that really shocked you? I like what the Mets did, because everybody said, oh, look how much money he's getting. But you know what you're getting in Scherzer. You know what you're getting in him as far as a guy, but you're not making it a ridiculously long contract, James. I think that's probably a smart move by the Mets.
Yeah, smart move by the Mets. Seager was surprising. When I first heard the rumblings on Sunday of Javi Baez to the Tigers, I didn't think that was kind of shocking then, because I thought for sure Correa was going to go to the Tigers to play with Hinch again. So that was definitely an interesting one there. That was kind of shocking. And even Syndergaard leaving was kind of a shock when I came across. But yeah, the biggest one is I think Sager's the biggest. I thought, the rumors were he was coming back to the Dodgers and his brother was going to join him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm also looking for Major League Baseball players to also, if they do hold, if it gets close to the season, I think they're definitely going to give some leeway here for their players to sign, because I'm looking at the names here. I'm looking at like Nelson Cruz and Anthony Rizzo, Conforto, Kershaw, Castellano from the Trevor Story, Chris Bryant. Like those guys need some time to sign, and they're not gonna be like them saying, okay, boom, it's a week before the season's supposed to start, and then boom. I mean, it's gonna be. We have a long time from now. Right now is December 1st. We got a long time before the season starts. But I do think that there might be a little bit of, and I think the one thing I feel bad for would be the folks who depend on that spring training money in Florida and that spring training money in Arizona. Those two cities those two states, they kind of need that revenue. You hope that revenue is coming in by then. Hopefully they get it. I mean, even if it's a abbreviated spring training, they still lose a lot of money there. So hopefully that they can have that happen. But I do think that they're going to give some time here because these deals are going to be, some of these deals here with some of these players. I mean, some of these names are just going to be massive. I mean, these guys, some Schwarber hasn't signed yet. I mean, somebody's gonna go out there and get Kershaw too as well. So maybe the Mets try to get Kershaw. Who knows? But there's a whole lot of quality names out there, and they got to have time to kind of sign, get ready for the season, and then get things going in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And there's pretty much every team right now, most of the teams are looking for first baseman. So there's no rush for them. I think a lot of the guys too who signed just had a plan in place. They got the money they wanted, just put in the right situation. It's everything, like I said, just fell into place for them. So they were comfortable signing those deals.
Yeah. And unlike sports like basketball, unlike sports like football, there was no playbook, right? If you're just gonna put Freddie Freeman at first base, right? You're gonna put Castellano in left field, and he's gonna do his thing. So you don't have to worry about that. That's one thing you don't have to worry about at all as far as that goes. So looking up through Major League Baseball to see if any signings come through. The fact they met for 7 minutes was really like, you might as well just save yourself the sit down and just do a FaceTime if you're going to do that. You're not going to do that. So as far as that goes, looks like Chris Taylor.
Exactly.
Yeah, so looks like Chris Taylor might be back. Back on a new deal. So it looks like Chris Taylor going to be back. A very versatile player for the Dodgers. Had a really good year last year, 31-year-old who can play infield, can play outfield. Really good hitter. I think now that with Seager leaving, that frees up money for Taylor. So Taylor will probably come back and sign with the Dodgers and continue his career in LA. As far as that goes, we have a couple minutes here before we head out. To another baseball interview. But I just wanted to say, give you a chance. I know you got the M on that T-shirt right now. What was the feeling like when you finally beat Michigan? And for finally beat Ohio State. What were your thoughts about Michigan here going forward as far as them, with Harbaugh and finally kind of getting over the hump here?
Yeah, I mean, it felt good. He got the monkey off the back. It was definitely make or break for him, especially after losing to Michigan State the way they lost, and then Michigan State getting blown out the week later. Actually, I believe it was to Ohio State. So, a lot of people didn't count on them to do this, and they beat them pretty handedly. It's 9 years in the making. It's been a while. It felt really good, and I couldn't sit and watch the whole game, and I kept getting updates popping across my phone, and I'm like, sent my friend a text who's watching the game. I'm like, are they really winning by 20 points right now? Like, is my phone broke? Is something going on here? Like, what is going on with this? So Yeah, it's nice to be number 2 and waiting for the college football playoffs rankings to come out and go from there. But yeah, it's a great season for Harbaugh and Michigan in general, and that defense has looked good all year long. So anything can happen now, and we may have 2 teams in the college football playoffs that don't have coaches, which is interesting too. So
Yeah, that is actually pretty interesting there as well. I mean, right now you're looking at, hopefully, I mean, you have Georgia, Michigan, Cincinnati, and Alabama. So hopefully you get. I mean, I think they'll probably move right now in the AP. They have them in as Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Cincinnati 3, and Alabama 4. So for the college playoff, I would think they would avoid Georgia playing Alabama in the first game, right? I think they would probably move down. They're probably somehow, some way find a justification to move Cincinnati down to 4.
yeah,
Somebody will. They're not gonna do that. No way they do that as far as that goes in college football. And I think that other big story in college football was Lincoln Riley coming to the West Coast, and seeing the freak out by Oklahoma Sooner fans makes me realize how good Lincoln Riley really is. Like, I mean, it's just that simple. Like, he's one of the best offensive play callers in college football. He is going to really kind of put USC on the map. He's already doing that now. He's going to put in the work. And I think the biggest thing that he's going to do is stop the gravy train from Los Angeles to the SEC, to the state of Oregon. Like, those things that's been an issue for USC, is that the top players are leaving. The top quarterbacks are leaving. The top running backs, defensive ends, wide receivers. I mean, the guys who are kind of the second tier are still pretty good players, but it's SC. They want the flashy, they want the best possible players, and they need to have those top players, and they need a guy who can kind of fit the bill as being that kind of step. USC has not filled the bill since Pete Carroll has left. Clay Helton wasn't it. He ain't the guy. I think we all know that, right? So for him to come in, I think that's going to help recruiting. It already is helping recruiting. They got some really talented quarterbacks coming in. I don't like the fact that people who transfer have to sit a year. Coaches don't have to sit a year. So why do players have to sit a year? I think it's kind of silly as far as that goes. But what are your thoughts about Lincoln Riley trying to put USC back on the map here in the landscape of college football?
Yeah, I mean, good move for him. Good for USC to get that big name coach. Good for Lincoln Riley to step away from Oklahoma before they join the SEC and get all those matchups. That'll definitely impact his coaching record. So get away from the SEC as far as possible by going out west. Yeah, I mean, USC should be that prestigious job for any coach. I mean, people should be lining up to coach at that university. Just their entire history, going back as long as you can go back with them and what they mean to college football. So good move by them. Best of luck to Lincoln Riley over there. Again, I think it's one of those, whenever you have these traditional teams that are good and really good, it's good for football.
Yeah, no question about it. NBA real quick. Suns, Warriors last night. The Suns win. They won 17 games in a row. Booker gets hurt. It doesn't matter. They still go on and win that game. I still people want to proclaim them as the best in the West, and they probably are one of the best teams in the West, the best teams in the National Basketball Association. But for the Warriors, they definitely are back, 18-4, playing great basketball. But let me just see what it looks like when Clay's there, because if Clay
that's you beat a Clayless Warrior team. Yes. So don't get too happy. I mean, 17 games in a row is amazing.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong on that. Tremendous, amazing. But Klay Thompson was not there, and he's itching to get back on the court. So,
and they're not rushing. They're not rushing. They're actually, and the best thing about for the Warriors, they're actually winning games without him. I mean, they're winning games without him being on the court. So that's actually a really good thing for them. They're not suffering without his loss. I mean, like they're still, they're 18-3. doing, I mean, just killing people, and they also are one of the best in this new age of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, all these teams can shoot threes and score all these points. They've been able to be the only average giving up 99 points a game and being one of the best defensive teams in all of basketball. That means a lot. I mean, that's really, and Clay is a not only a willing defender, he's an outstanding defender. So when they get him back, then I would love to see those games as far as that goes. Another thing,
And real quick with the NBA, because I've given them a lot of shit in the past for this, especially Nike, but they deserve a lot of recognition for these city edition uniforms tying in the 75th anniversary in the history of every team. I mean, those Nets uniforms that they wore last night were on fire. They did a great job with the Bulls. They did a great job with the Sixers and the Bucks, tying the Bucks and old uniforms and colors into that. And then with the Sixers putting down the old striping from the Spectrum down the side of the jersey. I mean, and even using the Spectrum font to write Sixers out. Kudos to Nike and the NBA for getting it right with this year's city edition.
Yeah, listen, it is the probably easiest jersey to wear over, as far as like, I've seen women wear them as like skirts. I see women, I mean, like I see men just, you put on a little t-shirt underneath them. Like it's pretty easy to wear that jersey opposed to like maybe a hockey jersey, or I'm talking about just a casually if you're going out and stuff like that. So they do a tremendous job with that, with apparel and stuff like that. And that's why, it's one of the most popular sports out there is the NBA. The Lakers are currently, where are they at? They're in the play-in game right now. They won last night. Are we just, I mean, I'm not really, I think the biggest thing is the up and downness of their play. I don't have a problem with Westbrook's style of play. I don't have a problem with the way Westbrook, at times he's just gonna turn the ball over, but he plays so hard. I can appreciate how hard he plays. That's the big thing about Westbrook. I can appreciate how hard the guy plays, but it's just that he just turns the ball over way too much. I thought DeMar DeRozan would have been the better guy. DeRozan clearly wanted to come home, and the Lakers couldn't make that happen. Or LeBron or the GM just said, "Hey, we'll take Westbrook instead." I kind of think I would have went DeMar DeRozan first, and then maybe Westbrook, and then say, Westbrook, you want to play on a small deal? We can get you here as far as that goes. But it is still early. But now that whether it's close contact or if LeBron has COVID, he's going to be away from the team. So they really haven't had a chance to get their full allotment of players on the field, on the court all the time. What are your thoughts about the Lakers? Is it early? Is it too early to kind of write them off, or do you feel like the Lakers are just not going to be able to compete with some of these teams in the West?
Yeah, I think it's getting late early or early late, however they say it. We're 28 games in the season. Haven't really impressed. You don't see them meshing, and now we're getting these crazy rumors. I don't know if you've heard them. Jeannie Buss has floated the idea of player coach LeBron James and bringing in Bill Laimbeer as the associate coach, who basically runs the bench while he's on the floor. Just nuts talk coming out of LA right now, but. Yeah, as of right now, like I don't see them competing, with Golden State and Phoenix, and especially Golden State. Like Golden State, I mean, Klay Thompson is just out there waiting, hiding in the woods like a sniper, ready to come out. So we will see what happens with that. And it's just interesting. I don't think anyone was expecting this from the Lakers. Does Anthony Davis still have his free agency coming up? Like he still hasn't signed, correct?
He signed.
He signed that extension.
Let me just double check that one.
I thought it was at the end of this year.
I'm pretty sure he's there. Let me just go to our good friends at Spot Rack to see if how that contract's working out. He signed a 5-year deal with the Lakers.
Okay, so he did sign. Okay, so he did sign.
So he's not a free agent to 2024-25 season.
Okay. So all right. So they must have signed it late in the offseason to bring that extension. But I mean, once again, it's a Russell Westbrook team that we're just having the up and down season that we're seeing. So
I just wish, I mean, to me, he is a 2. Like, why do we have to make him a 1? Like, why? Like, I've never understood it. Even in Oklahoma City, it just drives me crazy that he has not been able to, nobody's ever seen the common sense part of it, James, where they say, hey, here's a guy who is clearly, turns the ball over a little bit too much to be a point guard, but, can cut to the basket as a slasher, can get to the free throw line, all those things like that. It just makes absolutely no sense what they're doing there as far as that goes. But we'll see. Like I said, long season. We'll see where they are we'll see where they are when it comes to when it comes to the All-Star break, see where they are a little bit before that. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, the defense has to get better, and it's crazy because the young pieces they picked up all got hurt. Like they both had these young athletic guys, like Kendrick Nunn who could hit the 3 and play defense, and they all got hurt. So they're slowly but surely coming back as far as that goes. So I'm not sure if our guest from the Rangers is going to come on. So let's just continue to roll as far as that goes. You said you finally saw Shang-Chi? I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
I loved it.
How good was that movie?
I loved it. Totally. Yeah. Really, really good movie.
Oh,
didn't realize how long it was because it went by so fast.
Yeah.
A lot of action, a lot of humor. Sets up some cool Marvel stuff in the future. The appearance of the Abomination and Wong from Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Just really, really cool. I think they did an awesome job with it. Sorry I waited so long to see it, but I saw it and it was definitely worth the wait. So check it out. On January 12th, I'll watch the Eternals when that comes to Disney Plus. Because I'm not rushing to the theater for that. I'm not rushing to the theater to see anything before SpiderMan. So that'll be the next movie for me. But yeah, they did a good job.
The second trailer
character.
Yeah, the second trailer for Spider-Man. How'd you feel about that one?
I thought it was great. I thought it was interesting. Yeah. Always good. And you can see where unfortunately they made some errors in the editing, and even though they erased people from it, there's some edits where you can figure out that there's more than one Spider-Man in certain scenes. So I cannot wait to see that movie. And apparently there was a couple of brawls at different theaters that were selling tickets in advance. So with people trying to get in line to get their tickets.
Do you feel like the void of Captain America and Iron Man is going to be able to be filled by Doctor Strange and Spider-Man? It kind of feels like that's what they're doing. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah. You have to have
Go ahead.
You have to have the base characters for the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right. So that Avenger team and where they're going to go with that and what this multiverse opens up for Marvel and the future of their movies and the cinematic universe. Look, I know you don't like the movie, but I loved Captain Marvel. I thought Captain Marvel was a good movie. I'm excited to see what
I'm not going to diss Captain Marvel after anymore. After seeing the Eternals, I'm never dissing Captain Marvel ever again.
Yeah, that's not a fair comparison.
It's not
a fair comparison.
It's not, but it is. I did see it again, and I was a little harsh. I was probably a little harsh, but and I know, but no matter what I said, I'll be. Even if I see Eternals twice, I'm not going to be hard. I mean, it was just not good. Sorry.
Yeah. Especially too with the impact the Rambo's had on Vision, WandaVision.
Yeah.
They played such a big role in that. So it's there's a good horizon. I don't think we'll get that core Avenger team anymore. And I think Thor's the wild card in everything.
Yes, that's true.
When it comes to what's coming up with this this universe, and we still have him, and apparently we still have Hawkeye for now. So we'll
see what happens with Hawkeye here.
We'll see what's going on with that. So
how were the first two? Did you watch the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye?
I've seen the first 3 because last week they showed the first 2, and then I watched the 3rd episode tonight just before coming on.
Oh, they come Wednesday. They have Wednesday nights now for
every Wednesday. Yep, every Wednesday comes on.
Thoughts about that?
I like it.
I like him. I've always felt like he's been the character who got a little bit too much burn. As far as as far as speaking roles. I mean, the scene where he is amping up Wanda to say, "Hey, listen," and that was probably one of the best scenes in the Avengers. Like, and
Yes.
and the whole back and forth.
Agreed.
That when he says like, "Oh, I'm here with bow and arrow," doesn't make any sense. Like all that stuff, like that scene right there, I watched over and over again because it was really that good. And then Wanda comes out and just destroys everyone. But
Yeah, no, it's I think it's if you want to compare it to anything right now, you want to compare it to Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
But the big thing is you want to flip flop the jokiness and fun. So it's a little more lighthearted is the wrong word. There's some deep scenes, but there's more action. There's more action I felt in Winter Soldier and the Falcon. And I think this is less action, but the action scenes are great and a lot more of that camaraderie. And I think Jeremy Renner's really good in this role. And there's some laugh out loud moments in the show too. So
he's really good.
Haley Steinfeld's really good in this role too.
Yeah, he's really good. I like him. He's the one who, while the character might a little bit bothers me, but like a little bit too much, but at least him playing it, he kills it. Like he really does.
I mean, he's good in every role he plays. He's just
wasn't he the Born Identity after what's his face?
He was in a couple of
was he in Born Identity?
No, it was Mission Impossible movies.
Impossible movies, okay.
He was in The Town.
Okay.
And he's also been in a couple of like really good based on true story dramas.
He's in a new show. I gotta look at the show because the trailer for this show looks amazing. And
I've seen the trailer and I definitely want to see it too.
I gotta see. I just wanted to see what the name of the show is so I can get the proper name of the show because it looks like it's really, really good. He's 50. Oh my God. Jesus. Can't believe he's supposed to be 50. He's 50 years old. That's amazing. What show is he in? It's a new show that is on. Yeah, Mayor of Kingstown, right? On
yes,
I think it's on Paramount. But that looks really good. That one looks outstanding. So we'll see what happens here. Put on Waivers Podcast, Put on Raiders Podcast, Cover 3D Raider Podcast, and my sister who's getting into the podcast game too. So she's going to have a financial podcast coming out in December. So we're looking to buy a house, looking to get the money right, looking to get that credit score go up. She's definitely gonna be able to help you with that. So a lot of stuff going on with the Put On Waivers Podcast Network. So please stay tuned to all that stuff. You get your sports, get your money right. You can't, maybe go to Vegas and bet on some games, but choose some craps. You'll be good to go. James, in parting, you've mentioned the hat you're wearing is at least it's the old school beautiful Patriot jersey, the Patriot logo. But I'll let you leave on this. Your thoughts about the Patriots here? Big game this week with the Bills in Buffalo. I think there's a lot of pressure, more pressure on the Bills than the Patriots in this game. What are your thoughts about the Pats of what you've seen in the last couple of weeks, and what are your thoughts about this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see this game. I've said this is one of the most fun Patriots. This is the most fun I've had rooting for a Patriots team in a long time. Believe it or not, even with the success and everything over the years, it's just a team that came out of nowhere. And I mean, and the bottom line is, and I know I hate playing the what ifs and could be's and should have been, but this is a team that is three plays, a fumble, an interception, and a missed field goal of being 9-1. When you think about it. So it's incredible. And the defense is just exciting to watch, and it's a lot of fun. And they definitely bounce back. But yeah, I think the pressure is on Buffalo. When they won the division last year, they were being granted, they're going to win the AFC East for the next 8 to 10 years, just like Kansas City is going to win the next 8 to 10 Super Bowls. And, a lot of teams like, whoa, hold on there. Let's not start, handing out all these awards before they actually happen and play the games on the field. But yeah, pressure is definitely on Buffalo. What the Patriots are turning into this year right now is, playing house money. So they're going into Monday night's game, playing house money.
House money. Yeah, that's
they're
dangerous.
not supposed to be here.
Absolutely
they're not supposed to be in
dangerous.
this situation.
You said it.
And then that's the teams you always have to fear. And I saw an article where the Patriots are getting lucky because they're running into teams that are getting a big injury the week before, and every team is running into a team that's getting an injury. If you go over the schedule of every team, you'll find a break that they got throughout the year. So can't wait for Monday night. I'm excited to watch a Monday night football game for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I just want to look at this real quick. So that he got drafted. So Mac Jones got drafted 15th. All right. So it's interesting because I'm looking at it and I think there's some teams that that definitely missed here. It sounds like Shanahan really wanted him, but he got pressured into taking Trey Lance. I think it looked even worse for the Patriots because if the Niners who are playing good football now actually make a Super Bowl run, it makes it even worse that they spend that pick on Trey Lance because basically, they could have just, fixed the team the way they fixed it and then just let Jimmy do his thing. Atlanta with Kyle Pitts, it doesn't make any sense that was a really, I think Kyle Pitts would be a good tight end down the road, but they could have used a quarterback there. Detroit, I mean, Penei Sewell, that's fine. Again, you don't have a quarterback, it would have been nice to have a quarterback.
Well, I mean, they got Goff.
But at some point you got to move. At some point they need a quarterback as well. Carolina has no quarterback. They went through 3 already. Denver, the same thing with the Denver when you talk about Teddy Bridgewater, a stopgap guy. Philadelphia, we don't know yet. Maybe I can see Philadelphia passing over him. At least Chicago took a quarterback. Dallas doesn't need a quarterback, and neither did the Chargers, who have Herbert, and then the Jets already took a quarterback there. So there were some teams in that running where I feel like they could have jumped the Patriots here and got Mac Jones. And I just felt like I'm not in love with Mac Jones. I think it's his first year. We'll see what happens. I don't really evaluate quarterbacks till that year is finished. But I mean, he is a guy at the very least is gonna know the playbook and not turn the ball over, and that's half the battle when you're a rookie quarterback. So as far as that goes,
yeah, the turnovers and it's funny because I don't watch the NFL draft, but when it got to I was getting the alerts on my phone, it would pop up, this team picks this team, and after we got past pick 6. Every time I didn't see Mac Jones' name popped up, I'm like, he's gonna fall to the Patriots. They're not gonna have to trade up to get him.
Exactly.
And when they got him, I was happy, and I was fully expecting Cam Newton to be their quarterback this year, with Mac Jones on the bench.
I thought they were going to end up splitting time, and I thought that would have been like a dangerous thing to have Cam in the game, maybe at the in the goal line, the same way the Raiders are finally using Mariota. If they get into a goal line situation where they can just use his running ability and his throwing ability, as far as that goes. All right, cool, James. Always good to see your face, man.
Good seeing you.
Good to see your face. We'll see you next time, and we know there will be no baseball, but we'll find something to talk about.
We definitely will.
All right, later.